Dead Space 1 brought the fear. Dead Space 2 brought the pain. And then Dead Space 3 brought a gun to a knife fight. And a co-op buddy. The addition of co-op, dividing paths, and a brand new location at the heart of the game, Dead Space 3 set itself apart from the rest of the franchise. While Dead Space 2 ramped up the action while still keeping its spine-chilling aura, Dead Space 3 made longtime fans of the franchise collectively go, wait, is this even horror anymore? With its emphasis on co-op, cover shooting, and human enemies, Dead Space 3 might just be the most divisive entry in the series. But I'm not here to talk about that. Here's the real question. Is it still scary? Hello gamers and welcome to Is It Scary, where I play scary games so you don't have to. I'm Rob and I've been a horror fan almost all my life. And I'm on a mission to play as many scary games as possible. Both new and old, indie and AAA. And now, as you could probably tell, I'm not in my usual spot. Will that stop me from making these videos? Absolutely not. The subject of today's video is Dead Space 3, and oh boy, I have been dying to talk about this one. Released February 5th, 2013, Dead Space 3 is the most controversial title in the franchise. The game that traded tension for turbocharged action, and horror for hardware. But here's the real question. Does it still have anything that'll keep us up at night? Let's find out and get into the game. The story kicks off when Isaac is dragged out of hiding by Captain Robert Norton and Sergeant John Carver, EarthGov soldiers searching for Ellie Langford, Isaac's former partner. She has gone missing while investigating a potential way to stop the markers permanently.
How long has she been missing?
Just shut up and get over here. We'll explain later.
As Isaac makes his way through the urban streets of Earth, we get introduced to Dead Space 3's new cover system that I sadly never mastered. While I know a lot of gamers disliked Dead Space 3's change of mechanics, I actually enjoyed it. The shootouts with the human characters really helped break up the game's many horde battles. Their journey eventually takes the group to the icy, desolate planet of Tau Volantis, where Ellie and her team last made contact. As I stated before, Dead Space 3 is actually local co-op, or couch co-op for those of you old like me. And though it's the only co-op game in the franchise, it wasn't always meant to be. Developers actually toyed with this idea when developing the first Dead Space. Now, from what I gathered from reading old interviews and watching some old archive footage, it seems like the only reason they cut it out was because they didn't have the idea until the end of development, and by that time it would have pushed the game back and cost the company even more money. So the idea was scrapped. They would actually revisit the topic when developing the second Dead Space, moving away from the co-op campaign and opting into a multiplayer PvP experience. The group travels to a derelict fleet in orbit above Tau Volantis, known as the CMS Roanoke Fleet. Ha, Roanoke. Nice. Ellie is found alive along with her crew.
Sorry, but I have so much to tell you.
Isaac also learns that unitologist fanatics, led by the sinister Jacob Danik.
Death is only the beginning, Isaac. Nature must take its course, and I can't allow you or anyone else to stop that.
The unitologists worship the markers and seek to trigger convergence, a nightmarish event that would turn all living and dead beings into necromorphs. Again, look up the lore, I'm still not that guy. Isaac and the team repair a shuttle and crash land on Tau Volantis. Does anybody in this series know how to land a ship properly? I'm just asking for a friend. Inquiring minds want to know. On the planet, the team is separated during the descent.
Please, be alive! Come on.
Norton, growing jealous of Isaac's bond with Ellie, betrays the group and attempts to hand Isaac over to Danik.
The marker killer, Isaac Clarke. And here we are. The marker homeworld. You know, I must admit, I almost didn't believe such a place existed. But thanks to your friend, Norton, I finally found it.
That's how they followed us through shock space.
Oh, he is a bright one.
All he wants is Isaac. Carver, the rest of us can go home.
Deluded son of a bitch. Hey, you've got me. Let the others go.
Isaac kills Norton in self-defense.
This is all your fucking fault. She doesn't love you.
But Danik escapes. At a certain point in the game, Isaac and Carver discover that Tau Volantis was once the home to an ancient alien civilization that faced a similar Necromorph outbreak. The aliens developed a powerful device called the Codex, designed to stop the markers and halt the spread of the Necromorph infection. However, their efforts failed, and their entire civilization was wiped out. As Isaac, Carver, and Ellie uncover more about the alien ruins, Ellie is seemingly killed during a collapse while they try to reach the alien city core, devastating Isaac.
I left.
Thankfully, she survives. Yeah, I really thought they were about to Alien 3 us, but no, Ellie's okay. They eventually use a memory interface machine to understand how to control and shut down the machine built by the aliens. Now, if you got to play this game co-op, you experienced another level of fear. In addition to the second player, there is a second perspective. What do I mean by that? Developers actually made it so that the second player character, Carver, saw things that Isaac doesn't, actually creating this really unique dynamic between the players. Sadly, me and my wife weren't able to make time to play this together. I would have loved to experience that, but c'est la vie.
One of the things we wanted to make sure we did with the game was make the second character meaningful and actually fit into the franchise. So I think a lot of people were concerned that we were just going to tack on some random guy that, you know, didn't really have a deep story or wasn't very interesting. But with Carver, he actually has a very interesting backstory. We revealed that a little bit at E3, and in Dead Space 3 you get to learn a lot about his personal story. Now, the part about dementia that you mentioned, that's really tied to the fact that he's around markers. Markers induce dementia, makes people do crazy and kooky things, and so Carver's no different. He's actually suffering from dementia and having some flashbacks in terms of his family. I don't want to spoil his story, but he's seeing certain things that trigger emotional events, and then those emotional events in the game actually open up areas when you're playing co-op. So you get additional side quests that you get to do, and in those additional side quests, they're focused around Carver, so you get more of his backstory. Now, the important thing I want everybody to know is it doesn't change the A to Z story. Like, the story in single player is the same story in co-op. It's just you get extra details about Carver, and of course you get different dialogue and things like that, and you learn more about Carver, but the story itself is the same. It remains unchanged. It's not like the story with Carver then alters the ending. That's not how it works. It's you get to experience these fits of dementia, and those fits of dementia lead to some really interesting dynamics when you're playing online on the headsets. You know, you're freaking out, you're player 2. I'm like, what are you doing, man? Help me out. And you're like, aren't you seeing this? Oh my God, do you see what I'm seeing? And you're like, no, shoot the Necromorphs.
The turning point comes when Danik, using Ellie as a hostage, manages to retrieve the Codex and start the machine, reawakening the moon and beginning a convergence event. The moon plans to absorb all life and spread its infection throughout the galaxy. In a final desperate act of heroism, Isaac and Carver pilot a derelict alien machine to destroy the Necromorph moon. The two men seemingly sacrifice themselves, ensuring humanity's survival by preventing convergence. Ellie manages to escape, believing Isaac is dead. As the credits roll, a faint audio cue hints that Isaac may have survived, leaving room for speculation about his fate.
Ellie.
Dead Space 3 concludes Isaac Clarke's harrowing journey with a powerful story of survival, sacrifice, and the triumph of determination against unimaginable horrors. In the end, Dead Space 3 is a cautionary tale in gaming. It shows what happens when a horror franchise trades its slow burn terror for blockbuster chaos. Bigger set pieces, bigger explosions, and ironically, a smaller sense of fear. It's not without merit though. There are moments when the storm outside howls and you're alone in a frozen hallway. Your ammo is low when you feel that familiar tension. But those moments are fleeting, buried under waves of co-op gunfights and alien lore dumps. No, seriously, sometimes when they're giving you story beats, it feels like a student film that only has 24 hours to be finished. So they're like, oh geez, we gotta get this done right now. And then they just dump all the lore on you all at once without really thinking about how any of it makes sense. I didn't get the story. It was fun though. On the Screamometer, Dead Space 3 gets just 1.5 out of 5 screams if you play alone, and a 0.5 out of 5 if you're playing co-op. It has the bones of a horror game, but they're buried beneath explosions, gunfire, and dramatic slow-mo. Isaac feels more like an action hero than a horror survivor, which diminishes the game's scare potential. If you're playing co-op, those minimal scares are reduced to nothing. As for the game overall, 6 out of 10. Solid mechanics, some cool ideas, but it's lost the soul of what makes the Dead Space franchise so iconic. Personally, I believe if it was a standalone game, it's easily an 8 out of 10. However, as a deviation from a long-standing franchise, it's not great. Still good, just not what the gamers expected in a Dead Space game. If you're here for scares, Dead Space 3 might leave you in the cold. But if you're here to complete the journey, to see Isaac's story through, and to experience the last gasp of a once dominant horror franchise before it was put on ice, then this one is actually worth your time. And hey, you could always play it co-op and experience the chaos and the laughter with a friend. As for me personally, I'm always going to have a soft spot for this franchise. Dead Space redefined what horror could look like in gaming. From the terrifying silence of the Ishimura, to the very chaotic survival of the Sprawl, to the frozen wastelands of Tau Volantis. It's a series that absolutely deserves its place in horror history, even if it did stumble along the way. And with the remake breathing life back into the franchise, who knows, maybe we're not done with the Necromorphs just yet. But for me, in the next video, we're actually on to another franchise. Until then, I've been Rob, and you've been wonderful. Bye, gamers.